So ever since I recorded videos of this tail, a lot of people have been asking for tutorials, so I thought it was about time I finally do it after a little over a year of people asking. So I decided I will finally record a tutorial for you all the best I can, as I'm doing this on my phone. I don't have any cool professional filming equipment, unfortunately. I will try my best. Now, this is not going to be a tutorial on a full motion shark tail, but it is a tutorial on a full motion tail. The shape does not really matter, as all of the, well, really good ones are all made the exact same way. So there's no difference in the shape, it just fully depends on how you make it. Alright, so what I have here is 3-inch high-density upholstery foam, and upholstery is going to be the main thing that you're going to want. It's like really the only option, but what is really important is that it is high density, or at least some of it is. The very first layer of your tail, or like the middle layer, has to be this high density. This one is 3-inch, as I think it is the best, and I think at around 3 inches is when you really start to get like that firmness. This is the kind of foam that you were going to see in like couches and all that kind of stuff. I got this one and this one here, which is a bit more cut up and used. I got this one at my local Home Depot. This one was from Lowe's. Any really hardware store might carry this. If not, then you can just browse Amazon and whatnot. You'll most likely find it. But again, 3-inch high density upholstery is the main thing you're going to need. Alright, next step is, of course, what your tail is going to look like. Draw a simple design or diagram of what you want it to look like. Here I have all of the parts done, and these lines in the middle are going to be very important later on. I've got all of the layers of foam. Only the middle layer is going to be this high density. The other layers are going to be, I guess, normal upholstery? I don't know, but it's not going to be high density. But draw a design of what your tail is going to look like. Again, this is specifically not a shark tail tutorial. This is just a full motion tail tutorial. Now, obviously my shark tail is absolutely massive, but however, from the base to about here-ish, it is exactly half my body length, which I just did by taking to my hips down to where my toes are. So I just put my hips there and made a mark to about where my toes reached. As you can see, my shark tail lines up pretty perfectly with that, except for its fin does go a little bit over, but that is perfectly fine, as long as at least the main part is at least half your body length. Alright, so because this tail is meant to go a lot more down, I'm going to have to split it into 2 parts. My shark tail is meant to stand like a lot more upwards and more straight. This one is meant to go a lot more down. I have my mannequin here just to like help position it, so I'm going to cut out that here and stop here. I'm going to cut it out there and then continue it to make the other end, which I tried to do in one go, as you can see here. Did not work. So I'm going to cut that out, and I'm going to cut out the other section. Now, obviously, when it comes to making full motion tails, it is definitely better to keep your first, I guess, like the base as one piece. However, because this one is meant to go a bit more down and out, I did not really have a choice. But I'm just going to glue it together right there and it'll work out just fine. Alright, so I have my 2-inch normal, not high density upholstery here. I've laid my tail out on it and I'm going to trace it, but not all the way, only to about here-ish. I kind of just eyeball it. Wherever seems correct is probably correct, is all I'm going to say. Alright, so now that I have it traced, I'm going to go in on the inside and create that line right there, this section. This is going to be the first, second layer on both sides. I'm using 2-inch because I'm going to probably cut this 2-inch in half, depending on how thick I think it's supposed to be. Again, I'm kind of eyeballing it, which is what I did for the first tail. Either I'm going to cut out 2 of the pieces I'm about to make, or I'm going to cut out 1 and cut it in half. I think I'm going to have to cut out 2, but we are going to see. Alright, so this is what I meant by middle piece. It's kind of just like this middle section that's going to go on top of my base. Make sure that when you do this piece, it connects on the top. It needs to connect on the top. Bottom, not so much. The top, though, it definitely needs to connect. Alright, so with this piece now cut out and laid on top, I can see what the thickness is, and I am now saying that I am going to, yes, probably have to cut out 2 of these. And this might look like too thick, but trust me, a lot of this is going to get carved down more than you think. As the base of a tail is like circular. This is just one side. So you have to think of what it's going to look like on the other side as it needs to be mirrored. And I am seeing that I think I need to go a bit thicker. The reason why it needs to touch the base, these parts, is because the base is what's going to be attached to your body, obviously, with a belt. So you want the base to be really thick and sturdy to be able to hold the weight and stretchiness of the belt over time, which is why I like to have it connected. You don't have to, but I definitely recommend doing so. So I'm going to take this piece that I just cut out, and I'm going to trace it onto here, cut it out again, and then I'm going to glue them down onto our base. Alright, so now that I have both of my pieces cut out, I'm going to take this 1/2 inch. This is either never mind, actually, I think this is 1 inch. I'm going to take this 1 inch upholstery, and I'm going to do the same thing I did with my main base piece, and just take this piece and once again, just trace it. Once again, I'm going to cut out all of this and then trace it again so that I can have it mirrored on both sides of the tail. Alright, so now I have all of my pieces cut out, and I'm going to be gluing them onto my base, and then I'm going to be carving everything down. If you have pieces for your tail that are going to be going on top of it, such as my shark tail with the fins, you are going to not attach them yet, and you are going to carve down the base of your tail first, and then attach your secondary pieces that will go on. So I now have everything carved down and attached. Something I would suggest investing in is one of these. This is an electric knife. You can just get these off of Amazon. It will make this entire job a lot easier. It does not need to be perfectly smooth, as fur, which is what we're going to cover this with, is a very forgiving material. So you're not going to see much of these like sharp, rough edges. I may go back in with my scissors and just clean it up a little bit more. But other than that, I'm pretty much done, and I'm going to move on to the next step. For this next step, you're of course going to need the tail, a ruler of some kind. I suggest a fabric ruler, but whatever works. I'm going to need a Sharpie, and then scissors. I am going to be using my electric knife to do this so it's quicker and easier, which is again why I suggest you invest in one, because it's going to save your hands the torturous pain of having to, of course, carve down this massive tail. And it's just going to make this next process a lot easier, as you do have to cut in pretty deep to the tail. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take my ruler, start at the base, and go about 3 inches in, make a little line, and then I'm going to do the same thing and do around 3 inches all the way down the tail. I did about 4-5-ish marks, down to about halfway to the tail where it starts to get thinner. So from there, I'm going to once again take the ruler and move to about maybe like 2 inches, and then I'm going to take that and I'm going to stop about here when it starts to get a lot thinner. if you see right here, I just kind of patched up some things as I cut too much away, so I made it a bit thicker right there, which you can do pretty easily if you do make something too thin. But I'm going to mark to about there-ish. Okay, so I have all of my little stripes now, and I'm going to start taking them and putting them as, well, stripes around the entire tail. I could flip the tail over and do the same marks with the ruler. I personally don't. If you want to, then you can. But I'm going to start and draw the stripes all the way around the tail. So now that I have all of these lines, I'm going to get my knife, or you could use scissors, and I'm going to cut to about there-ish, like cut till you get just about into your first base layer, which is of that high density upholstery. Alright, so as you can see, I have cut through all of my pieces on both sides. Again, do not cut all the way through. Just again about to that like middle base layer, and you're going to slowly start just like beveling the edges a little bit. I'm going to do one here just to show you like what I mean. So I'm going to start here at the base, and I'm just going to go from the edge and just cut away the edge basically. So that my, basically so that your cut is visible, like that, so you can see it. Do this on all of the stripes on both sides. You want to go, again, straight from where the cut is, and just slowly work it out. Do it on the other side. So just do something like that on all of the stripes all the way down. Alright, so I now have all of the stripes cut out on both sides, and I'm going to show you, we've got one more step before we get into how to put on the fur. I'm going to go back to my template sheet here. You're going to see, you might see that I put these lines here. Those actually have a meaning, and it involves elastic. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the elastic, and I'm going to lay it out, start on the first chunk, and take it to wherever it ends. And then you're going to stretch it out and glue each part on. Not fully, you're wanting to let it stretch. You're going to glue this first part end, I guess, and then once you have to let it dry each time, then you're going to take it and you're going to stretch it. Mine's going to be reach to about here. Then you're going to go in and you're going to slowly glue it down to each one. You can put the elastic wherever you want. Just make sure that it's in places that it's going to be sturdy and it's going to hold up well. This is how you're going to make it more sturdy and give it a lot more bounce. Alright, so now that I have my first one, as you can see, I've glued it and just slowly stretched it across each one. You do want some tension, but not a lot, because if you stretch it too much, then you're going to lose all of your motion in the top of your tail. So I've just slowly stretched it across a couple of these and then ended it. I've done this on both sides. And now I'm going to go on and I've got two more that I'm going to do. Now for my second piece, I'm going to take it and I'm going to have it stretched a bit more diagonally, which again, you want them to at least cover all of your little chunks. Mine's going to end about here, and I'm going to start it about there. I'm going to do the same thing, glue, stretch, glue, stretch, glue, stretch, glue. Alright, this is what it looks like with all of my elastic on. Again, I'm trying my best to cover all of the pieces. The tip does not matter that much. It kind of depends on what's on the tip of the tail. Like, if it's a big fin, then you might want to actually put some more on some areas. Something I also forgot to mention is that the thickness of your elastic does matter, because this tail is not nearly as thick as my shark tail. It's a lot thinner. I went for, of course, a thinner elastic, but if it is a much bigger, chunkier tail, then you are going to want a thicker one. Now for our final step is to put the hole where your belt is going to go. You're going to want to go higher up on the tail, not in the center. You want higher up. This is going to make it sit a lot nicer, and you're going to want to take this and cut it all the way through to the other side. This is again what I'm going to be using my electric knife for, but you can try and go at it with scissors. It's just going to take you a while. You do not want your hole too far from the edge. I might actually move this back more, about there-ish. But you're going to cut a hole all the way through. Alright, now that I have my hole that goes all the way through, I'm going to take a piece of fabric that is about this length, cut out a square of it, and thread it through that hole. Alright, as you can see, I have taken just some fabric and threaded it through and then glued it down. This is going to make it just easier for your belt to slide through your
Now I went here and
belt
I
hole.
just went into my basement and I did a little test run.
And I'm going to get my belt and try it on
test
so you can see how well it
after you're
worked.
done. I walked around for a little bit just to show the motion of it. This is going to probably be around the end of this tutorial. If you do want another one to show how I fur the tail, then I can do that as well. Once you're finished with testing your tail, you can add any more adjustments that you would like. But move around with it, have fun, and I will see you all next time.